Does everybody know what time it is?
Home Impodcast time!
That's right. A company that is a shade darker than Binford Tools is proud to present a home improvement podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan. Jordan, good morning.
Good morning. I'm always a little bit startled somehow. Like, I wake up with a text from you that says you want to record at such and such time every single time we record. Like, I wake up surprised and not expecting it. So I hope one day that I anticipate, getting ready to record at a reasonable time and being prepared.
Yeah, we record these pretty early. I'm an early riser, and I like to wake up and kind of just get into my home improvement podcast. You know, some people like to wake up and have their buttered toast or their coffee or their morning fix, but I like to wake up and record. Rise and grind and record.
Yeah,
I would say in that order.
Yeah, and I think it shows because we're a little groggy.
Yeah, I like the difference in the conversation or just the vocal tones between when we start recording and before we start recording and after is just jarring, especially on my end. I know a couple seconds ago I was singing Silver and Gold and just kind of moaning, and now here we are recording a podcast for tens and tens of people to hear. So
I wouldn't even say tens and tens, just tens.
Depends on the week.
But yeah, I mean, I would imagine that someday we'll release that footage to people, and they might enjoy it. They might also be terrified. So
that's if Anonymous doesn't get their hands on it first and release it via hack, which we're all just.
I'm waiting for them to target us. Just waiting.
We're atop their list. Ashley Madison and Home Impodcast.
That's it. One of the first things I usually do is brush my teeth and floss my teeth. And speaking of floss, we have a Mental Floss article here that was given to us by a listener. Yes, yuck. We do have listeners.
Yuck to that transition.
What do you mean, yuck? You don't like flossing?
I mean, it was. That was telegraphed from. Just go on, please continue. You said you had a good transition, and yet I'm not thinking it was.
Define good. That's what I want.
Yeah, I guess the good transition is the one that you don't notice, and that was definitely noticeable on my end. But yes, we did get a Mental Floss article sent to us via Twitter. I've forgotten who sent it to us, but
they'll appreciate that.
Listener, yeah, we could have found out, and maybe we will. At a certain point later on down the road, but we do thank you for bringing this article to our attention. It's 14 sturdy facts about home improvement related to the 25-year anniversary of home improvement, which was September 17th. So September 17th, 2016 was the 25-year anniversary. And Jordan, I'm just gonna kind of let you loose, kind of go wild dog on this. What do you think?
Well, I mean, as you can imagine, we've done a lot of research prior to starting this podcast and found several articles that were listing very similar things. So there wasn't a ton that was necessarily new this time around for me, but there definitely were a couple of nuggets of wisdom. Not Wiz Tim, which we'll get later.
Not yet.
And one of my favorites, it wasn't necessarily written in there, but the first one that's listed says that Tim Allen turned down starring in TV versions of Turner and Hooch, which I thought was interesting because the movie Turner and Hooch starred Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks would later be a co-star in Toy Story. So that was just kind of an interesting connection there that I made between that first listing on this article.
Yeah, I like that first one. TV version of Turner and Hooch, like in 1991, that would have been pretty funny.
You think they would have used a real dog or a robot dog?
Yeah, they would have had to have used a real dog. Just like the old, it would have been like the old Bush's Baked Beans commercials where they got that like beautiful golden retriever just sitting there, and then they do like voiceover work, and he doesn't really move his lips or anything. Now it's CGI, but back then they would have had to have used a real dog. So I like the idea of Tim Allen just kind of like walking, like a noir kind of version of just Tim Allen walking down the streets of some large American city holding a dog that would talk from time. Well, I guess the dog in Turner and Hooch didn't talk though.
No, he didn't. That would be.
Well, I bet it would. I bet it would if it was on TV.
He would have to. There's only so much you can do with a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta invent that kind of character, I feel like.
So that was an interesting one. What else? Ashley Judd was too talented to play the Tool Time Girl. I think I'd heard that.
Yep.
That was good. Alan's clothes came from colleges and universities in Michigan.
Randy's actually older than Brad, which we know.
Wilson's full name was Wilson W. Wilson. I don't find that as interesting as a lot of people do, but
I wouldn't call that a sturdy fact.
It's on like a lot of to do research. It's always on there.
I thought
this was an interesting one.
Okay, go ahead.
The White House seriously considered getting Hillary
say
Clinton to appear on the show. I'll read this. A 1995 memo released to the public last year showed that Hillary Clinton's press secretary Lisa Caputo reached out to Chief of Staff Maggie Williams about the quote wild idea end quote of having the then First Lady appear on the most popular television show on air. The show's producers were willing to do a show on women, children, and family issues, or a show on whatever issues Hillary would like. Clearly, it wasn't meant to be. That would be really interesting to see. Now, I wish they would have done that.
Yeah, especially with the then First Lady now running to be president. That would have been an interesting thing to put in the cap of Home Improvement. But
should we talk politics for
I'm sure people want to hear that.
20 to 40 minutes? Okay. The show had its own video game. JTT left. Alan Richardson turned down a lot of money to make this. Tim Allen turned down $50 million, and Patricia Richardson turned down $25 million to do a 9th season
for 22 episodes.
I don't care how sick you are of doing something. I mean, that's a lot of money. Tim Allen has probably made that money since then. But Patricia Richardson, I wonder if she kind of kicks herself for turning down $25 million.
She's not a woman who cares about that kind of stuff, I don't think.
Well, I wonder if that's true, because that's a lot of money.
I'm really basing that on absolutely nothing. So
yeah, you must be, you know things about her that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to talk about regarding this Mental Floss article?
The one about Richard Karn getting the part because of a moving violation. I thought it was interesting that he was coming back from a Macbeth rehearsal, and that's when he got the ticket. So, and
you a Macbeth fan?
Not so much, but it does remind me of in a couple episodes we'll see him, or not in a couple episodes, but I was watching. We'll talk about Family Feud at the end of this episode, but I was watching an episode of that, and he is dressed up in like a Shakespearean regalia in one of the episodes for like a Halloween episode, and I thought that was just an interesting. And he starts talking in like that same language that you would find in a Shakespearean play.
Right.
So,
Home Improvement littered the Shakespeare references. Especially Macbeth. Double, toil and trouble is in Macbeth, and that's bubble, toilet. I mean, it's basically it's a modern Shakespearean adaptation almost. Home Improvement.
It sure is.
We want to thank Sarah Michelle for sending us this link. We will now actually. It was not Sarah Michelle. It was Stephanie. But we want to thank Sarah Michelle for being a fan of the show and tweeting at us. And we want to thank Stephanie for sending us this article. And I want to thank the library for allowing me to pay my fines and get Tim Allen's text, "Don't stand too close to a naked man," back. The New York Times bestseller. So Jordan, my man, let's go ahead and cue those grunts.
Sure, it's all safe to me. Oh, no.
Now it's time for Bits of Wisdom.
So this week's bit of wisdom comes from the chapter entitled Masculinism. Subverting Feminism. Tim Allen's take on feminism. Here is the bit of wisdom. Men like salty food, so you'll find us chowing down at red booth eateries like the Cock and Balls, the Cork and Cleaver, the Peach and Frog, the Slag and Bastard. Women like anything with high-quality service. I'm not really into great service. Food is still fuel to me. The French think of food as art. Americans invented fast food. Women like restaurants where they can lunch. Women lunch. Men eat. That's just the word you can use in a polite conversation. Once, I even went to a restaurant so expensive that only the men's menu had the prices. Of course, I only went once. This has been your bit of wisdom.
There hasn't been many bits of wisdom that have been so stream of consciousness like that. It just felt like barely related sentences, one after another.
Yeah, as I always say, and as it always is, it's hard to find something in this in these sections that is not just, tremendously kind of offensive, especially when Tim's talking about feminism. And,
And
some people
masculinism.
would maybe like that because it's funny because it's so offensive and poor. But some don't. So I just, I just went with that one, and I hope you learned something.
Yeah, sure. I think my favorite part of Wisdom's is the voice that you decide to do. Like, it just gets a little bit lower, like you're whispering a Wisdom
Would
in
you
my
say
ear or
dulcet?
something. Yeah, I would definitely say
You would
dulcet.
say dulcet, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who else would, but I would.
Well, I don't know either. It kind of a special day today on Home Impodcast. You know what I'm getting at here?
Not yet.
Well, Jordan,
So go.
today we're talking about Jill's birthday.
Oh,
Which is,
yeah, I suppose
that's how you
it is
transition.
special.
That's a transition, pal.
Sure, something like that.
Jill's birthday, 16th episode of Home Improvement, debuted on February 4th, 1992, written by Rosalind Moore, and we've got a Tony Topola synopsis here, and I'll take this one. At home, Jill's birthday is coming up and Tim has forgotten it. Luckily for him, the boys remind him. Jill says she doesn't need any presents, especially because the previous year he got her a pressurized window washer. This year she tells Tim has to get her something thoughtful. There's a typo there. In Tool Time, the show is shooting a makeover of a house live. Tim has a truck on site. All that is needed for a catastrophe. Elsewhere, Tim learns a secret of Al's when they visit a women's clothes store to find a gift for Jill. Written by Tony Topola of Finland. That's it.
All right.
Let's get into
That's
it. You want to start
All
things
right.
off?
Sure. So we're going to open outside. Tim is walking out, and the boys are hanging Mark upside down to see if his skates fit, I think. Just a classic, older brother's pranking little brother thing that we've seen all the time.
Classic.
And I noticed something a little bit weird as Tim was walking out. They have a dinner triangle outside their back door. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
What does
strange.
that mean? Like a you ring it to tell people? It's
Yeah,
dinner
one of the
time?
ones that you would see like in the country or something, and you just ring it when dinner's ready. Like the boys are far away and they need to hear this dinner triangle in order
Where
to
was
come
that
home.
at? Like where?
It's literally right outside the back door as Tim is walking out.
That is
So
strange.
if you've never seen that before, go ahead and take a look. It's an interesting thing that's on the set there. But Tim is coming to get firewood because his wife is cold. Women are always cold, and it's men's job to heat them up, says Tim. And then Mark asks if women are cold-blooded. So the kind of an interesting written line there, and Tim likes that. It's kind of that unintentional thing that kid says that you would find funny.
Was it interesting?
Sure. For what I'm setting the bar at for this episode, because if I didn't set it this low, we would have nothing interesting, I think, in this episode.
Valid point.
So,
Valid point. Yeah.
so let's keep that in mind as we move forward. We use the word interesting loosely here. But yeah, Randy mentions that he could get a heater for his mother's birthday. And it's obvious at this point that Tim forgot that the birthday was coming up. And Randy takes this opportunity to pounce on him as he denies that he forgot the birthday. And Randy plays a little bit of trick, as he is wont to do, into thinking the birthday is on Saturday when it's actually on Friday. So we've seen Randy do this a few times now.
May I interject?
No. Yeah, go
this
ahead.
is bad, right? Like, not remembering your wife's birthday is
it's really bad.
Really, really bad. And I feel like the whole episode, it's like a joke, like, oh, Tim forgot Jill's birthday. Tim's just so absent-minded, but it's awful. I mean, birthday comes once a year. It's your wife. You only have one wife. She only has one birthday. I just, from the get-go, I'm kind of just sort of, it just takes me out of this episode because I just found it unfathomable to.
It's puzzling.
Yeah.
And it seems to be like a popular thing that I've seen in sitcoms, and I don't really know where it comes from.
Yeah. I remember in college, one of my roommates forgot his mom's birthday until like 4 or 5 days later, and I just remember thinking, like, I just felt so bad for this guy's mom. You only have one mom, she only has one birthday. Of course, I'm setting myself up for failure, if I ever forget your birthday. Do you know the date of my birthday?
I know it's in March.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly sure it's the 21st of March.
You got that right. And you're on good old November 28th, am I right?
Oh, look at us. We know each other. Isn't that
we
adorable?
finish each other's
Sandwiches.
So we know each other's birthdays, and we're just casual acquaintances. So Tim should know Jill's birthday.
Casual acquaintances.
Just casual, man. We're just keeping it cash.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but if we start questioning everything in these episodes,
then we'd have to have a podcast every week to talk about it.
That's true. So let's go back inside. It's getting a little cold outside. So yeah, let's go back inside.
We transition to inside. It's the living room, kitchen, dining room set that we see so often. Jill's reading. Tim is lighting that fire, and they begin to kind of talk about birthday gifts, and Jill notes that Tim always forgets her birthday, which again is very just troubling. The conversation kind of continues, and it transitions into Tim asking Jill what she wants. Tim would like to give Jill money. Jill says that she'll break his legs if she gives him money. Which whoa. But
things escalated quickly.
Yeah, they really, as they often do. But Jill's mad because Tim always kind of just gets her tools or very mechanical things, as Tony Topola noted, a pressurized window washer. Something else is noted. But
a denubber.
Well, denubber, which would do.
I have no idea what that is, and I tried to Google it, and I could not find anything.
Yeah, so we did try.
If you know what a denubber is, feel free to reach out.
I'm sure someone will. But Jill wants something from the heart, as one would.
Something like arteries?
Oh, that was like a joke he made. It sure was. They've been married 12 years. That's the first time we've heard that.
Yep.
Yep, that's got that. How old are they? How old are they supposed to be? 35 then?
Yeah, something like that, I would say. Which makes sense, because if they met in college, they probably got married like right after college, which would be right around that age, I would think.
Yeah, okay.
So
It's about 12 years.
That checks out to me. The whole not remembering your wife's birthday, I don't know if that checks out. But
right. And I mean, that's essentially the scene. It ends with that artery joke. Then we cut to Tool time, and Tim is noting that they are going to be on location for an upcoming episode. Kego Harbor Heights, Michigan. Familiar?
No, are you? Is that a place?
I looked it up. Kego Harbor is a place. There is no Kego Harbor Heights. Kego Harbor is like Oakland County, West Bloomfield area. So that does kind of check out if we assume that Tim lives in suburban Detroit, so that would be somewhat nearby. But no, I was not familiar with Kego Harbor Heights prior to this episode. So
yeah, if you search Kego Harbor Heights, it'll tell you the elevation of the town. So I don't know if that's
we get he talks about the renovation. He brings out the man whose house he's renovating. Why?
Eugene.
Why does he do that?
Pretty much just to show how quirky this guy is, I suppose.
And this guy is, and I have some information. This is Patrick Thomas O'Brien. Sometimes we have characters that have very few credits. Sometimes we see the people, we know them, and they have lots of credits. I was surprised. Patrick Thomas O'Brien has 98 credits, and some kind of prominent roles here. So he did some sitcoms in the 90s. Sabrina, the Teenage Witch.
Yeah, that's my favorite. He played Cupid.
Yeah, but he also played another role on that as well.
Index Man, whatever that is.
Saved by the Bell. Is Drake and Josh, another sitcom. But he's done some good movie work. He's in UHF, which is kind of the cult, the classic Weird Al Yankovic movie from the late 80s. He was in Catch Me If You Can and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. So, Ink, he plays on this, probably not his most famous role, but he's carved out a nice little career for himself. And
he's got his niche.
How would you describe Ink, Jordan?
Ink. I guess he's supposed to be like an adult nerd, I guess. Mm-hmm. I don't really know.
But this is before being a nerd was just like cool,
Yeah, this is like the 80s, 90s version,
right?
Like the pocket protector kind, and like the glasses that probably break, and all of those tropes. That's more of what he is. Mm-hmm. Is that how you would describe him? I would say.
Yeah, he's just a Poindexter.
Just a real Poindexter. And they're gonna go ahead and work on his house, add a porch, and expand space for the living room. But it's not for Ink; it's for his wife, Pink.
His wife, Pink and Ink.
Pink and Ink, and we get that she's a whole lot of woman,
Mm-hmm.
in the words of Ink.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of the second time we've seen this, where he brings out like his wallet and there's a picture of her, and I kind of forgot that was a thing when
Before
people used
phones.
to do that. Yeah, before like cell phones,
Yeah.
people used to have pictures of their wife or their family, or in the case of Stu Cutler, a nice car in their phones. So that was an interesting moment. And then Ink shows Al his wife on the slip and slide.
Why would he have a photo?
I don't know. And apparently
It's kind
she
of
stuns
gross.
some
It's like
kids.
it's sort of pervy.
Now, Ink doesn't really have all the social conventions down.
Sure.
So, but yeah, apparently Pink scared some kids on the slip
Yeah,
and
well,
slide.
no, they were like laying there next to the slip and slide, like lifeless, and he said that they were laying there like that before she went down it, and she didn't necessarily hurt them. So she's a big lady. Ink talks with a distinct like Minnesota Upper Peninsula accent. Do you notice that?
Oh, I didn't notice that actually.
Oh yeah, it's like very it's like Jeff Daniels and Escanaba in Moonlight.
He's an Uber.
Not an Uber.
Not
He's
an
not an Uber.
not
He
an
does
Uber
not drive
driver.
Uber. Yeah, but you shouldn't have. Like, why would he have that accent if he's from Kego Harbor, suburban Detroit?
Maybe he moved down there. I mean, he could be a transplant. You don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right. Let's transition.
He probably went to Michigan Tech and then he moved down.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, man. Michigan Tech.
So let's get back home. We're gonna go back home. The boys are there. I don't know where their parents are, but they kind of walk into the house, and Brad and Randy. Oh boy, there it is. Brad and Randy bought some Tigers baseball cards, so they're kind of out of money, and they don't have any money left to get Mom's gift. They see conveniently Mark is putting his money in a piggy bank, and Randy comes up with a scheme, and
As he's wont to do.
His scheme is to impose a tax. And I guess before we talk even more about this, let's go ahead and play the clip that we have of this scene.
Maybe we should have spent all our allowance on these baseball cards. Hey, we had to get the Tiger infield. Yeah, but now we're broke. Where are we going to get money for Mom's gift? Play along. Yeah. Hey, Mark. You're a real smart kid. You saved your money. Thanks. Now you have enough to pay your little brother tax. My what? The younger brother pays the older brother tax when he's 7. I'm not paying you anything. Fine? Have it your way. But we just might hide some strange animals in your bed. Unless you pay the tax. How much is it? How much you got? $4.77. Sorry, it's $5. Come on, Randy. He's a little brother. Give him a break. Okay. We'll help you empty this thing out. Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
Don't run in the house.
Yeah, so we see here that Randy, his great idea is to impose a younger brother tax. My brothers luckily didn't do this to me when I was younger, but Mark kind of falls for it right away. But he's kind of not interested, even though he falls for it. Like he's kind of apprehensive to give over his money. He says, no, it's mine. And then the boys kind of put on a good cop, bad cop technique where Brad is like, come on, give him a break. Instead of the $5 tax, let's go ahead and charge him less. And Mark does give up easily at that point. He thinks he's getting a good deal here from his oldest brother, Brad. And they all run upstairs together and decide to count the money. So
yeah, it's okay. It's like it reminded me of the whole thing with Peter, the faux little brother, in an early episode. The scenes where the Brad and Randy, as opposed to Rad and Randy, are kind of tricking Mark, are generally pretty funny. And as far as this episode goes, this was probably one of the better bits, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I do like it better though when the boys team up against a common enemy instead of their little brother, but I suppose we can't have too many of those.
Yeah, like
episodes,
an Ocean's 11 kind of thing. You getting the band back together to take down.
Plan comes
together.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
There's nothing quite like it. So we're gonna stay downstairs though, right?
We're gonna stay downstairs. Jill is. I wrote jazzercising. She's doing some kind of a workout video.
It's just like aerobics, calisthenics. I don't know.
She looks every bit of the era of which she's in. Oversized shirt, ponytails, kind of dancing around. Tim comes in and he begins to kind of dance next to her and starts to kind of talk about things that he's going to get her. He gives her a list of gifts that he's thinking of, like kind of putting out feelers. But Jill doesn't like that, as someone generally wouldn't. And then Jill asks the question, do I look a lot older, or do I look a whole lot older? Tim answers poorly. How does he answer exactly?
He basically says, I don't know if I would say a whole lot older.
Right, okay. So he doesn't really handle it that well. And then he stares at the women on the television set.
The answer is no. The answer is no right away.
Yeah, the answer is no before she finishes the sentence. And then he just like stares and kind of oogles or ogles at the women on the television screen. So Tim's not doing well by Jill.
I also in this scene I noticed that like while Jill is working out she can talk normally, but as soon as she stops she is quite out of breath and like very sweaty, and I don't know if it really makes a whole ton of sense that she would be that out of breath compared to 2 seconds ago while she was actually exercising and she could talk normally, but she acts it out, and I just don't know. I don't remember where I was going with that one.
That miffed you. You didn't buy it. It's like when Karen came in and got those cups last episode. She just came in.
They really miffed you.
Oh man, it miffed me. And you're bothered by Jill's acting choice here.
It just really, it really just took me out of the realism of this episode.
In her defense, I mean, she can't deliver dialogue when she's working out and like be huffing and puffing. I wouldn't be able to understand it.
I guess, but she does it in the very next second of the scene, I feel like.
One of the many problems with this episode, as far as I'm concerned. All right, so we transition. It's party day, and they're all. Jill is she's gone, or no, she's upstairs sleeping, and everyone's at the dining room table, and Brad and Randy.
Tim made pancakes.
Is it heart pancakes, or what kind of pancakes is it?
I don't know. Just it looked like pancakes to me. That's all I saw.
Definitely.
And then there's some orange juice on the table. The table's all set, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Jill comes like waddling downstairs. She's very sore. All that jazzercising just really wore her out.
Right.
And she says she'll never work out again.
Yeah, but the reveal before that is that Tim has purchased her a lifetime membership to work out.
Yeah,
so, like,
he thinks he's got this great gift.
Yeah.
He really tuned into what she wanted. I wonder how much a lifetime membership would be.
I was wondering that too. Gym memberships now per month, like 30 to 40. I don't know if like with inflation, maybe they were closer to 15 or 20 back then. So thousands.
Yeah,
right?
I would think so. It seems like a big gift.
Let me ask you something about just kind of the logistics of this episode, or something that kind of seems strange to me. So Tim buys a gift for Jill on his own. Brad and Randy buy a gift for their mom on their own. Mark is going to get a gift for his mom on his own, presumably. Doesn't it seem strange that they wouldn't just all kind of collaborate together? When you were young, were you responsible for getting when you were 10 years old, were you responsible for getting your mom a gift on your own? You couldn't drive or leave the house?
I don't remember that. Mark makes a homemade one, so I feel like his isn't like a tough thing. As long as he's got crayons in the house, he can, and a piece of paper, he's good to go.
It's just like strange that Tim, there's no oversight. Like I can't imagine, like, how would Brad and Randy have even gotten this perfume? And I
don't know if they like biked to the store, or maybe they live close enough to like because what they got is something you could probably get at like a dollar store or something.
Yeah, I just like, it's strange to me. I probably like went in on gifts with my dad until I was able to drive on my own, and then I could purchase my mom's gifts like without having a parent with me. But it just didn't seem like plausible that these young boys, like, no one is talking to the other one about what they're getting their mom. Everyone's just kind of on their own.
And that
did you get your mom birthday gifts when you were young?
I don't really remember, probably, but I guess I probably did something close to what Mark did, just like a like a homemade thing more than anything else or whatnot. But I mean, as far as like the boys getting their own gifts, I guess it's maybe the same thing as in that scene where they're imposing the brother tax. Like they come home by themselves, so I'm guessing they have a way to get to a store where they got the cars and stuff.
That just
and
seems
maybe
so
there's-
strange to me, though. Like the idea of like Tim showing up the morning of and being like, "What'd you guys get your mom?" And
Right.
they're like 9 and 11 or something. Like they're just really young. Like he has no idea what they got. I don't know. That just seemed like really strange. Like as if they are equals. Like two adult.
Yeah.
Like would you? Like two adults throwing in on something together. It just seemed very strange to me.
Yeah, maybe Al took them.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Probably not. There's no indication of that. But I'm going to go ahead and
what
reach.
we're getting here is that you didn't get your mom birthday gifts when you were young because you don't seem to have any recollection of how that went.
You know what? I feel fairly certain that my mother will listen to this episode, and I bet you she'll have something to say about the gifts I got her.
Yeah,
so
I hope she chips in or rather chimes in on the WordPress or the old on our website and lets us know kind of what that was like, what the process was like. Jordan getting gifts.
I'm not going to claim that I was a great gift giver because I don't remember, and I can say that a lot about my younger years for whatever reason. I just don't store those memories away. I don't know what that says about
that
me.
Means that
Instead, I've got
that means they're going to come flooding back to you sometime and just going to be overwhelmed.
Oh, and I don't want that. That'll make me sad, just like you made me sad last episode with your the Thai talk.
Yeah, that was
very emotional.
We stopped being polite and we just kind of got real, in the words of every season of The Real World for the last 25 years. But we should probably get back into this episode, I would imagine.
Let's get real again about.
Let's stop being polite and start getting real.
So like we were talking about, the boys got her Treasure Island perfume, which is like this giant cask of, I don't know, like it's huge.
Yeah, it's really big.
And from all indications, they got a good deal for $5. But yeah, they got that. Tim got the lifetime membership. Jill comes down sore, saying she never wants to exercise again. And then Randy right away is like, well, let's give out the gifts because he loves to throw his dad under the bus.
Definitely.
So Tim delays, and they kind of start singing the birthday song at that point. So. And then I think the boys, do they give the perfume at this point?
Yeah, they do. They give it right in the morning.
Yeah.
Tim says like, we've got the whole day. I don't need to give my gift now. So he's kind of, you can tell he's stalling as it means to figure out what he's going to do. So,
yep. In the next scene.
Yeah, the next scene is, perhaps the most useless scene of all the episodes we've watched of Home Improvement thus far. This scene serves no purpose, it makes no sense, and nothing comes of it. Go ahead, Jordan.
Perfect. That's a great setup. I'm so glad that you said that. Now no one's going to listen to this, but so they're on site at Ink's home at this point.
Kiko Harbor Heights.
They're at Kiko Harbor
Overcast
Heights.
day. Gray house.
Yep.
Small yard.
Yeah.
I have a suspicion, and you'll tell me if I'm wrong here. I kind of think this might be the front of the Taylor house. Did you ever think about that? Do you think?
No.
I think it might have been. I mean,
there's a fence on the left, which makes sense. There's a small porch. Yeah. I guess I would have to look, because there are a couple of different scenes that we've seen so far where it's like the front porch of the Taylor house. And that might be able to indicate this, but it could be. You could have struck something there, and
something like gold.
Something, yeah, something
Silver
like gold.
And gold.
Oh boy.
Go ahead.
But in this scene, Tim is trying to get Al's advice on a gift. So he still doesn't know what to get her after. I guess he has to return this lifetime membership, or maybe he just uses it himself. I'm not sure what he's going to do with this lifetime membership, but. I did like in this scene that his hat said Timbo on it, which is kind of a callback to...
Yeah, he's worn that for a couple episodes now. I do like that.
Yeah.
That's a nice little detail continuity-wise.
Yep, and so they're going to start filming, and even though ink isn't there, they got to go ahead and start working on this house. And so Tim gets into this truck, which is called Blood, Sweat, and Gears, and is souped up by Tim.
Why do they need the? Sorry to interrupt. Why do they need the truck? What point does the truck serve? What are they doing with the truck?
I mean, if they're taking out part of the wall, I'm guessing they're going to try to like hook part of the wall to it. I don't really know.
Wouldn't the whole house topple over?
I don't know. Maybe if you...
I'm just saying that this doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah.
I don't get it.
I'm not going to try to explain this because I don't work in construction. We do have a friend that does, and maybe he'll know the answer. So
yeah.
maybe we'll reach out to him and get back.
He's almost certainly listening.
Almost certainly.
Just as he almost certainly answers our calls and texts.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but he backs the truck into position, and obviously you can guess what happens. He just... and goes too far and hits the porch step. So he's already ruined the house a little bit, but that's just the way it goes with Tim sometimes.
That's it, though. And then they leave, and then there's no... It doesn't
really
come into
there's
play
not
again.
really anything that goes on there.
It doesn't make any sense. It's not...
Yeah.
Like what?
That's why we're all flummoxed right now. I don't really know what to do at this point.
I don't... Yeah, I mean, I just don't get it. Like, why wasn't ink there? What are they doing with the truck?
Whose house is that?
Whose house is it? Why did he back it up so carelessly? I mean, the questions that this episode posits it doesn't answer. You could fill a sheet of paper with, as far as I'm concerned. But I digress. And Tim and Al, they themselves.
I will say this is probably my favorite scene, which is obviously not saying much because we've already kind of disparaged this episode.
Yeah, see, I don't even like this scene. I think it's not. I think it's bad.
I didn't say I liked it, but I said it was my favorite scene.
All right, so yeah, they're at a women's clothing store, and Tim has somehow kind of he's got Al to come with him. He's tricked him, or he's been able to rope him into helping him out. And But Al is visibly uncomfortable. He's uncomfortable. It seems like a nice establishment. Kind of ritzy upper class. Al says, I'm uncomfortable. I don't come to these places very often. And then immediately, like 5 women say, "Hi, Al," and "How you doing, Al?"
Yeah.
And recognize Al. Come to find out, Al confesses he tries to meet women at this particular boutique, and it's kind of creepy, I thought, or like a strange detail. And then he goes on to say the different places that he goes to meet women. Yeah, I got that too. And they are art galleries, laundromats, and immigration. So the immigration thing, you're going to have to explain to me, because, can you explain that to me? Well, I guess at this point, it's the early 90s. I'm not sure how popular, like, those mail-order brides from, Eastern Europe and Russia were. Yeah. Have you ever heard of those? Yeah. No? I've heard of them. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see where you're going. So maybe that's what he was trying to pull, since he didn't really have the internet at that point. He was trying to get someone who was... When you say that you don't know how popular those mail-order brides were in the 90s, are you implying that they're really popular now? Yeah, I think they're just blowing up on the internet. Is this something you learned at Food Truck Friday, or what's... I thought that what happens at Food Truck Friday stays at Food Truck Friday. Definitely. So. I took it as, and this is like a depressing way to look at it, but like I took it as like he's going to immigration and he's like preying on immigrants that can't get into the country so as to like help them out with a green card. That is the way to take it. I don't know. I'm not sure how we're supposed to take it. It doesn't seem consistent with Al's character. No, but I don't know how you would read that in a way that does seem consistent with Al's character. Maybe there's something about immigration that we don't know, having never really been there. Speak for yourself. I'm just kidding. Okay. Go ahead. What do you know about immigration? Obviously not very much, because I guess it's just a joke. I think it's just a joke that they wrote without really thinking they needed to explain it, or that doesn't sound like the Home Improvement writers. That doesn't sound like Rosalind Moore.
Yeah.
So again, Al is he goes there to pick up women, and there's a few more jokes about that.
Yeah, well, Al says if he were Jill, he'd like any of these things, and then Tim is confused by dress sizes. He doesn't understand the 0, the 2, the 4, the 6, the 8.
Tim's
and
a
he thinks
32 waist.
Yeah, Tim's a 32 waist, good for him, and he thinks that maybe a 20 would fit Jill. Luckily, before actually buying it, Al holds it up, and they realize, nah, it's probably a little too big.
I'm not sure that I'd buy Tim as a 32 waist.
No?
Uh-uh.
Is it because of his upper body strength?
He seemed more like a 34 to me.
Well...
Thick upper body, thick waist. I don't know. 32 seems small.
I guess I don't really know.
Okay.
I suppose I shouldn't ask what your waist is, although I think that's what you're pining for at this point.
Yes. Well, Jordan, I'm anywhere from a 33, 34 to a 34, 34. And
right.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to. I feel like I'm perhaps thinner than Tim.
I've heard that waist sizes, I don't know if it's true, but it has changed. So like a 0 for women back in the day is now like a different number or
Do you
something.
feel comfortable sharing your waist size?
Yeah, I would say I'm a 30-30, which makes it hard for me to find
You're
pants
small.
because it seems like...
You're small.
Thanks.
You must not be eating at Food Truck Friday.
Yeah, I just go there for the karaoke.
You just go karaoke and camaraderie. I don't know.
Yeah.
32 seems small to me for Tim.
Yeah, I think we're spending too much time on that number.
I gotta disagree with you because
this really has ramifications for the rest of the show.
The digressions are probably what saves us in episodes like this, where there's just not really anything good on the screen. But
yeah, it's true. I mean, I guess I don't really know. It seems semi-plausible.
Sounds like a poll.
Sounds like a poll. What's his waist size, guys?
Yeah, seriously.
We need to know. I like when Al suggests lingerie and then holds that up against himself.
Yeah,
that's nice.
That was pretty good.
Then a woman comes over to help.
She sure does.
She says, do you need any help? It's pretty obvious that these guys are struggling at this point. And she's just very forward right away with Al. Al's a little bit flustered as he gets around
It's a Greta Post-like scene,
it's very Greta Post-like.
Yeah.
She hands him a card with her number, and it's the perfume that she's holding, she says, is available. So definitely hitting on him, and then she offers to show him to the men's cologne. And then she says she's an actress on a temp job.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, 90s Detroit was the perfect place for an actress.
I'm glad you said that. I was thinking, what is she doing? What is there? She on that off-Broadway Detroit scene, she's performing outside of Chelly's or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, that was an interesting detail.
That was a bit strange. And then Al says that Tool Time is his own show.
I have my own show.
So,
that was one of the few legitimate laughs I had. We cut back to the living room, and Jill is preparing to just go out and run some kind of an errand. And the boy,
she needs to get some asprin and Epsom salts. She's still sore.
She's sore. That does track then. And the boys say, "You're going out. Why don't you wear the Treasure Island perfume we got you?" And they kind of do a clever shot of a POV shot from just the other side of the perfume, kind of looking up, showing the full bottle and Jill's face, which was it stood out to me. Jill doesn't really want to wear it, and she's trying to get out of it, and it burns. And she does eventually put it on. Correct? Yeah,
she puts some on. That's how she knows it burns. Yeah. It smells bad. Right. But she puts on a good face, and the boys say that they almost bought her flowers instead, and how embarrassing that would have been. And it's obvious that Jill would have much rather preferred flowers than this awful perfume that she's going to have, perhaps for the rest of her life, because that's how big the
it's
container
huge.
is.
It's the size. How big is it? What would you compare it to?
It's like a small baking bowl, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm a big baker, so everything's
You're trying to get us that Blue Apron sponsorship?
I'm trying. It's not working,
not
but
yet.
I'm trying. I did notice that the boys were playing checkers. I think that's probably because Brad couldn't play chess at this point. And Randy maybe could.
That was a good.
Shots fired.
Got him. I didn't notice that. At this point in the episode, I started just like watching the paint on the
Zoning
wall
out.
near me dry. Scene 1 and 2.
Yeah. Well, the boys are playing checkers, and at this point, they've both just made one move. So it's impossible to know who's going to win this game at this point.
Is it
or who
really
is winning.
impossible to?
Impossible. We could never know, and we never will know. We can only make judgments.
All right. So speaking of judgments, or perhaps no real transition there. I tried. We head out to the fence, and Tim is going to seek advice from Wilson for the first time in the episode, and as he always does around minutes, let's say 17 of a Home Improvement episode, he's going to get some advice, and then he's going to try to use it and try to make things right. And I think we'll just go ahead and play a clip.
Wilson! Wilson!
Heidi-ho, neighbor.
Oh, Wilson, great. You gotta help me. I'm in big trouble.
Oh, it's Jill's birthday, right?
Yeah, and she wants me to get something that's in tune with her and from the heart, and I don't know what to do, Wilson.
Tim, I am reminded of a story.
Wilson, I don't have time for this.
Well, neighbor, what is time but Tim with an E? Anyway, there once was this little boy in Africa who wanted to give his teacher a gift, but he had no money. So he walked 2 days to the ocean, and he picked up a handful of sand and walked 2 days back, and he gave it to her. Well, she was greatly moved by the gift, but she said, "It was so far for you to walk." And he said, "Teacher, the journey is part of the gift."
Yeah, but Wilson, I've been on the journey. It's the destination. It's the sand. I don't know what to get her.
Well, Tim, maybe you're just trying too hard.
And she's not being any help. She's being so sensitive about this.
Well, sometimes birthdays only remind us of how old we are. Maybe Jill needs to be reminded of all the simple joys she had in getting there.
What kind of gift would do that?
Well, I don't know, Tim. You'll have to listen to that little voice inside you. It'll tell you what to do.
What's it sound like?
It sounds like this.
Oh, shit.
All right, so in this scene, we get just pretty much the standard Wilson advice at this point. Wilson does remember that it's Jill's birthday, so he's on top of it, and Tim isn't. Wilson tells a story about, the African boy getting the gift for his teacher. It's about the journey more than the gift. And Wilson just basically says he might be trying too hard. And, sometimes birthdays get us cranky, especially when we get older, because they remind us of how old we are. And so Wilson suggests getting something that reminds her of that journey, which, Tim takes that right away and kind of has an idea, which is good.
I'd like to note, it's pitch black back there. There's no light on either side of the fence, and it was kind of unsettling to me. It made the scene kind of just strange, I thought. Like,
you were nervous the whole time?
Well,
at some point,
why is it so dark? I mean, even for the sake of watching a television show, you want to have some kind of a lighting in every scene, unless it serves the scene. It was just really, really dark. They weren't talking about anything ominous, so I just you didn't notice that?
There's nothing more ominous than realizing your mortality.
Yeah, I guess that was probably intentional then. Definitely wasn't that someone just did a bad job lighting the scene, or they just forgot to turn on the light. All right, so we cut back inside. Time has passed, presumably. Tim comes downstairs.
Presumably? What do you mean?
I mean,
it has to have.
Well, I'm just saying, how much time has passed. I always have trouble in these episodes. Has it been an hour? It was night. It was dark outside, so how much later is it? Because Tim has managed to have the time to go upstairs and talk to Mark, and Mark has told on his brothers. Also, Tim has managed to make a video with a gift, set up a toolbox that plays music, and has Jill's picture in it. So, how much time has passed? Because he's done a lot, and it's still the same night.
Well, it's winter in Michigan, so it gets dark at like 5.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe if he went outside right about, dinner time, maybe they had an early dinner at like 5:30. Maybe it took him 2 or 3 hours, and now it's roughly 9 o'clock, getting right before bed for the boys.
I buy that.
Okay.
Fine. So anyways, Mark has told on his brothers regarding the little brother tax. Tim comes downstairs and kind of confronts Brad and Randy. He calls it an angry dad tax.
Yeah, the boys lose their allowance, and now it's going to go to Mark for the next couple of weeks.
So wrongs have been righted. Mark does continue on with his narking. Every couple episodes, he's going to tattle.
He is who we thought he was.
He is who we thought he was, and we let him off the hook.
Yep.
Tim, we find out that Tim has something planned for Jill. He corrals her, kind of dims the lights. He begins by he presents her with a toolbox, sort of
I don't know why.
Well, I think maybe it was like a red herring. He wants her to think that it's going to be the same old gift. But Jill opens it, and it's I guess there's a music box in there or something, because when she opens it, music does play. There's a photo of her at the top, and there's a videotape in it. And she takes the tape and she puts it in the television. And how would you describe it? It reminded me. It's like a Prezi kind of.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's basically PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Before PowerPoint was popular. Yeah. It has no audio. It's playing music, I guess, but it doesn't have his audio.
It's you are so beautiful.
Oh man, that's good. That's a good rendition.
Talk about
right
dulcet.
There. Yeah, I'd say. So yeah, the tape is playing. There's a video montage of old pictures. Tim has cut out a bunch of hearts, and all of these things are hung on his pegboard in the garage.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So he's panning from one picture to another, kind of going through the story of her when she was younger. And then, there's a picture of Tim when he was younger, and he kind of zooms in and zooms out like a heartthrob. I thought that was interesting. Yeah, it was reasonably funny, in your words.
Mm-hmm. The words
and
out of my
then the
mouth.
video... Yeah, and then the video stops in the middle, and we have like a gladiator movie.
Well, it cuts to Spartacus. That's what Brad was watching in the second
course.
episode.
Brad's gonna be so upset.
It's hilarious.
When he goes to watch
Spartacus. It is funny when you watch these episodes so close together, because they are paying some attention to like callbacks and arcs and stuff. I don't know. I thought that was sort of clever. Like Brad was watching Spartacus in episode 2, and here they have it recorded in episode 16. So someone's paying attention. I kind of like that detail.
Yeah. So I don't know why it like stopped in the middle though, and
Didn't
then it went
necessarily
back.
make sense.
But we did get Spartacus, so I can't complain too much.
Spartacus,
So Jill, as you can imagine, Jill loves this gift. It's thoughtful, heartwarming, all that good stuff. So
it was good.
Good job.
It was good.
Good job, Tim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And the next scene is again back at home, but this time Tim is kind of there by himself, and he accidentally spills the perfume after smelling it. And as he's like cleaning it up, the phone rings. Inc. has called about the truck accident, and they briefly talk about when he's going to come back. Tim goes back to the perfume, and it has burned a hole in the dish rag. So I'm glad it didn't burn Jill's skin earlier when she put it on.
It's sort of like Sex Panther in Anchorman.
It's exactly
like that. Yeah.
So it's a very dangerous perfume. And then the last scene is post credits of basically another angle of Tim backing into the house. So what we've come to expect from the post credits scenes is just the same as always. So, wow. I guess let's talk about this episode overall. It's very much like the older episodes of season 1, where it's got the formula where Tim screws up, gets Wilson's advice, and comes out looking good after fixing whatever he did. So nothing new under the sun in that regard. I would say my favorite scene was the department store. Al was in it. He's funny always. That whole scene with him, all the girls saying hi to him, and then the girl that comes up and is interested in him, that was I don't know, reasonably funny if I'm Adam.
Before long, it's not gonna be a joke, and you're just gonna be saying that, legitimately, and then
Yeah.
it's gonna be your thing. And then I'll start mispronouncing most words.
Yeah, we'll just do the old flip flop.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing new is really learned in this episode. The characters are the same. There's not like a ton of growth or anything, so it's very pedestrian for me.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think it's clear my opinion. I would say I firmly, strongly dislike this episode. I do. I don't think it does anything very well. I don't think, I don't think that Tim. I don't like the concept of Tim forgetting Jill's birthday. I just think that that's kind of implausible. I don't think the idea of the young boys and like Tim and like Mark all getting gifts on their own apart from one another and not communicating is very plausible either. I don't... What else? I mean, I think I think a better idea would have been Jill struggling with getting another year older, and that is only mentioned like one moment. She says, "Do you think I look as good as I used to?" And he basically says not really. And then it's kind of just like moving on. So I think maybe they, like most of the bad episodes of Home Improvement, they had an interesting idea, or there was something they could have done that would have been more interesting. And I think that would have been an episode where Jill is struggling with getting another year older. But then I guess you run the risk of it being like the episode where Jill is nervous about making a speech. But yeah, I don't think it's funny. I don't think the tool time stuff, the scene where they back the truck up into Ink's house doesn't make any sense. The only thing that I think is really redeeming here is the little brother tax scene, because I think that kind of rings true, I guess. And any time that Brad and Randy prank Mark is somewhat funny. But yeah, I don't like this episode. I don't. That's it. That's all. I don't like it. There was nothing. I have nothing to say positively, and the negatives are all in the last 45 minutes. So
yeah, so we don't like this episode, but you know what we do like? We like hearing from you. We like hearing from our fans. And speaking of that, we're going to go ahead and go into our mailbag segment.
You've got mail.
All right, so on this week's mailbag, we've got a question. I forget if it came from Facebook or Twitter. I think Facebook, but this question is from Rachel. And I guess it's not necessarily a question as much of a request. She wants to know our thoughts on Richard Karn's stint on Family Feud. So Richard Karn, Al Borland, he hosted Family Feud, I think, for about 4 or 5 years. Do you watch the show very often?
My parents really like the Steve Harvey iteration of Family Feud, so I've seen a handful of episodes of that. But I know the basic conceit of it and what happens. But the Karn years are kind of a blind spot for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, and first I just wanted to go through the hosts since 1999. You mentioned Steve Harvey, but. Yeah. Because they've had a few, and they've been interesting characters, I would say. Mm-hmm. In 1999, it kicked off with Louis Anderson.
He just won an Emmy on Sunday.
So
for Baskets.
He's gone on. Yeah. He's gone on to do big things. Yep. And then Richard Karn was on there. And then we had John O'Hurley. You might know him as Jay Peterman from Seinfeld. Yep. Which I did not know that he hosted that at all.
Oh, really? And I probably saw more episodes of him than Karn.
See, now, the most that I see are who you just said, Steve Harvey. He seems to be everywhere. And I see him on all the time. So they've had those are definitely different personalities, I would say, of hosts that they've had in the past 16 years, 17 years. But what I was able to find, I haven't really seen any with Richard Karn back when he was on in the early 2000s. But apparently he was really bad. I found an article that had really, it was a compilation of Al throwing to commercial, basically, or Richard Karn throwing to commercial, and they were just really weird lines and very strange things, like, "It's okay to watch the show naked, we'll be right back," or something like that. I don't know, it was very strange. I can go ahead and post the link in the show notes if anyone's interested. I also found a Yahoo Answers page where people were ranking their favorite Family Feud hosts, and Richard Karn was often towards the bottom. So it sounds like fans didn't really love the show. Apparently the ratings weren't doing well, and that's why they brought on Jay Peterman at that point. So I can't say I know a ton. I do like the show Family Feud. I don't watch it regularly, but I do enjoy it whenever I'm catching it. And I just don't know if he was the right personality for the show at that point. He wasn't what America needed at that point, maybe.
Well, I think you've said everything that could possibly be said about Family Feud. So I don't have much else for you.
We won't be starting a podcast about Family Feud anytime soon.
I think I think we want to be careful. Any criticism of Richard Karn is going to make it difficult, more and more difficult to get him.
Hey,
on
I
this
didn't
show.
say I didn't like him. Other people didn't seem to like him. But you know what? Also on that Yahoo Answers, there were definitely some people who said they didn't enjoy him on the show, but then there were people who loved him. So it was really, as we know, Richard Karn is just very divisive.
Well, let's also talk about the validity of Yahoo Answers while we're at it. I mean,
I used to go on there a lot for some reason and just read.
Well, I mean, you also watched the entire season 1 of Kid Nation, so
yeah, there's in a lot of Smallville too.
Yeah, so what we used to do,
yeah, we can't really dive into that.
Well,
too
thanks,
much,
thanks, Rachel, for that question. Sorry, we couldn't, give you a little more. But is there any other questions this week, or does that conclude the?
I think that's all we got this week
Okay.
for questions. But if you do have any other questions, you want us to address something that is just burning up your mind at this point, go ahead and reach out to us on one of our very many outlets. We've got Facebook, Home Impodcast, Twitter at Home Impodcast, thehomeimpodcast.com, homeimpodcast@gmail.com. Any of those outlets, we would be more than happy to hear from you. And go ahead and leave us a review on iTunes. Rate us on there. That's how other people find us. And we would love to have even more ratings and read off your name on there as well. Any Twitter news? Any social media news from your end?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about Twitter. Active week on Twitter. Our most, some of our busiest week to date as far as responses to our episode Forever Young. So I want to thank everybody for that. As far as the poll that was posted, the question is kind of related to what was one of our hotter debates, I would say, Jordan. And that was whether or not having the chunk of table stuck to Tim's head was funny or not.
What's the verdict? I want to hear it.
So
wait before we give the answer,
Yeah.
Where did we fall on this? I thought it was funny. You thought it was not, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As if that needed a review. I think that's ingrained in the show's DNA. So the options were no, bad prop / too lowbrow. I chuckled, doesn't matter, funnier than Jay Leno. So there were 8 total votes. 63% said that it was funnier than Jay Leno, and the remaining 38% said that they chuckled. So, and then the rest.
I'm not sure what to make of the funnier than Jay Leno.
That's what I voted for, because Jay Leno is not funny. And
I like that you vote on your own polls.
Oh, I mean, you don't vote on these?
I'm not gonna say whether I do or not.
I don't know what to make of the percentages adding up to something above 100. 63,
what were the percentages
63
again?
plus 38, that's 101.
Well, I think, they probably just round up.
It strikes me as being strange.
Twitter apparently does not have a sophisticated enough
You like
voting.
you a Jay Leno guy?
No, I was...
Why are you making these guys on a Home Podcast?
You just really wanted to do that impression,
these
didn't
guys
you?
on, they do this Home Improvement Podcast. Why are you making these guys?
Oh, boy. Is that your question of the week? Do I like Jay Leno?
No. That would be a good one, though. Maybe it should be. But we do, we want to thank everyone.
You wouldn't have to think.
For the Twitter interactions and stuff. It's been kind of our lifeline early on in the podcast. I think it's definitely how we've grown.
It's kept me going.
Yeah. Also I. So, should we transition?
Sure. Speaking of things that keep me going, it's time for the question of the week, and I would love to hear what you've got in store for this week.
Yeah, I actually have a couple. I was trying to think of it during. There's two good ones, but two ones. I don't know about good. I guess I would rather hear about. So I was going to ask you about. This is about birthdays. I was going to ask you about memorable birthdays, but instead I'm going to call a late audible. And we noted Rachel asked us about Richard Karn as the host of Family Feud, and Family Feud is, of course, it's a game show. And I just kind of want to talk about, your experience with game shows, which game shows you liked or have watched growing up.
Yeah, I remember, I feel like there was a point early in our youth when the Game Show Network became widely available. And that was, very interesting and apparently captivating for me and a few of my friends at that point in our lives. I very much liked Press Your Luck, the old one from like the 70s. That's the one with the whammies. My favorite one was Match Game. Do you remember Match Game at all?
Well, I mean, I know what Match Game is, but that's also, that's like that's 1970s. So no, I don't remember it happening, but I've seen it.
No, I mean, but have you seen it on TV?
Richard Dawson, right?
Yeah, and there was a couple different hosts.
Yeah.
There was Gene, somebody else, I can't remember his name now, but just a bunch of different celebrities. There it is. Yeah, I very much liked his edition of it actually more than the other host. I'm trying to think of the other ones that I really enjoyed. Those were two of my favorites.
Anything
I like
more modern?
Lingo.
What's that?
Lingo is more like a wordplay. Like you get like a certain amount of letters and you have to guess what it is in a certain amount of time. But my favorite, and one that I've probably watched more than any others, I used to watch it nightly with my college roommate, and then with my wife for a while too, was Jeopardy. With Alex Trebek.
Hands down.
So
my favorite.
Hands down, that's my favorite.
Likewise, yeah, I love Jeopardy. We used to, in high school, you and I would, I would come over to your house, and we would do Jeopardy, just you and I watching it. We would keep track on pads of paper.
Keep tallies, yeah.
So, high school, baby. I love Jeopardy. That's probably my favorite. Growing up, I remember really liking Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in those early Regis Philbin seasons. We watched it, my family, me and my mother and my father, we watched it, most nights early on. And, as the hosts have changed, my dad claims that the Cedric the Entertainer variation is still pretty good, but they changed the rules, and I'm just out on it. But I really liked Regis early on. That was just like a really cool show, I thought. And the celebrity one was also good, and kind of a strange one. I remember kind of getting a kick out of, I don't know if you ever saw this, but Stump the Schwab on ESPN. Oh, yeah. Remember that?
Yes, that was such a strange show.
Yeah, just like some he overweight, older, arrogant sports fanatic, and these people would come on and try to they try to answer more sports related trivia questions than him. And I liked just kind of the banter, because the Schwab was visibly sort of a loser, and yet he just had such extreme confidence. And, when I was younger, I sort of emulated that, fake it till you make it. So I liked that show.
So really you're thanking the Schwab for inspiring you to be who you are?
The Schwab kind of gave me confidence, during my early years. But no, I like
the Schwab made you the man that you are today.
Yeah, for better or worse. I like trivia-based shows, generally. So.
Yeah, definitely. So we'd love to hear, what game shows get you going. So go ahead and reach out, as we've said, all those different social media websites and ways to contact us. We'd love to hear what your favorite show is. Adam, I would love to play Jeopardy with you, as we used to. Go back to the old days. Not necessarily for nostalgia reasons, but we just like a good old competition every once in a while.
We sure do, and yeah, I also would like that. It's a good time. It's
add it to the list of things that we'll do once we ever see each other again.
Yeah, Food Truck Friday, that's right up near the top as far as I'm concerned. I want to hear that girl sing country music back to back.
We're going to go ahead and reminisce about Kid Nation. We'll talk about food trucks. It's going to be a hootenanny.
Dance off, etc. All right. Well, yeah, we want to thank everybody for listening, and you know.
Episode 17 is going to be up next, and what we've got for episode 17 is What About Bob? And I think we're all wondering, what about Bob?
What about Bob, though? So yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Thank you, Jordan, for joining me this morning, and I guess I should say take care.
Take care.